Hello, everyone, and welcome to the StudentArtPodcast. I'm your host, Ross Baxter, and today is episode 94 of the series. The StudentArtPodcast is a weekly series where I bring on guests in the film and game industries to talk about their journey, thoughts on education, you name it, folks. We talk about everything. Today on the show, we have an amazing guest. We have the co-founder of Cloud Colony Games. He's an amazing artist. We've got Kyle Horwood back on the show. Dude, how's it going? How's things?
Yeah, good.
Good. You're all doing good. Perfect. Nothing wrong. Going good. So, as always, folks, today's main topic, we're going to be diving into Kyle's new game, and we're going to be talking about his journey about starting a company. So, if you guys saw the title, we're going to be talking about the ins and outs of his path to making his new game, Escape the Cabin. It's an amazing game. You guys can find it in the links below. Let's check out the trailer from Escape the Cabin. Enjoy. So make sure to go play the game. It's an amazing game. I'm literally playing it right now. And I was telling Kyle yesterday, I actually messaged Kyle yesterday, and I was like, dude, I'm struggling. I'm seeing everyone playing this game, and they're doing these like really quick times. And as little as I knew, they already played the game. I was thinking these people were playing these games in like 1 minute 30. Oh, dude, it was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah, I've already got this speed when it's coming to the game.
So we're going to be talking about like the game, etc., and we'll take it from there. So first things first, Cal, I'll let you just do a wee bit of introduction. I know I've already had you on the show. If everyone wants to tune into the previous podcast, make sure to check out in the link below. But just tell us a wee bit about yourself, and we'll take it from there.
Okay, hello. I'm Kyle. Previously worked as a material artist in the game industry, working on games like Marvel Spider-Man and Tom Clancy's The Division 2. And I did a little bit of work when I was in Supermassive on a game called Little Hope that's coming out, I think, in August or October. I've kind of taken a break from doing material work at the moment, so I'm focusing on my own solo development projects as well as my company, Cloud Colony Games, which I do pretty much full-time at the moment. Because it was more of a most of the time be freelance, and then maybe if I can squeeze a couple of hours in for my company, I would do that. But because I want to get the company somewhere, I've started to move it to full time.
Yeah, awesome. So I guess just to start things off, how does it feel having your own company? How's it been going?
Yeah, it's not been going too bad. Like, you got to be really focused when you're making your own company, because especially me, I will get like in the morning, have a shower, and then come up with an idea and be like, oh, I really want to do that. But you can't, because you need to focus on the one game you're doing. It's a bit annoying sometimes. You want to focus on the game, and then it's like you get a reminder from the government that you need to file some papers or something, and it's like, oh.
Yeah, there's lots to it.
You can get away, I think, easily if you want to make a company to, like, I don't know, just get an accountant to do it.
I understand that lots of people, obviously, they want to make games, they want to be creative. Like you said, like when you have all your mind's racing, you have so many ideas that you want to put to paper, etc., which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. But when it comes to making that decision, there's a lot of decisions that has to be made first in order for that to be possible, if you know what I mean. Like there has to be planning, etc., in advance. You have to be, most importantly, you have to have like funding to back yourself up and think long term. But first things first, let's dive into the exciting part, the game. So tell us about your game. What is your game, and where can people find it?
So the game is called Escape the Cabin, which is available on Android, Google Play Store. It isn't on the iOS. We have kind of looked at maybe bringing it for the iOS, but right now it's like not really worth it because we're not making any because we've released the game for free, so we aren't making any money from it. So, and iOS is a bit more expensive to release on. So yeah, Escape the Cavern. It's basically a short escape room experience where you're trapped in a cavern and you've got to solve puzzles to find your way outside.
Yeah,
Pretty simple game,
well,
but
dude,
it's fun.
like that's the thing. Like when it comes to just starting a company, I think you've done it the right way. And I know it's easy for me to say. You see so many people who, when it comes to ambition, yes, we all want to make a crazy game or something very over the top, but that's a lot of people's downfall when they start out. And like when I'm playing your game, like I said when I was talking to you yesterday, like I'm really enjoying it. It's something completely new to me. Like, all right, when it comes to games, right? There's obviously I have my certain taste of games and stuff, but I've got to have one of the slowest brains in the history of mankind. Because like I was like trying to figure out all the different elements of the puzzle, and my brain was just racing all the time. The one thing I will say, so a lot of people won't understand what I'm going to say here. This is why I'm allowed to say it. Is hunting down the paper at the start. Like I was just like, where's the last piece? I can't find it. Like it was driving me crazy. I was like, I need to find this piece of paper. So I was like on the hunt for it for ages, looking for it, and then I finally found it. I was like, I see your sneaky game you guys were playing over there, and then I finally found it. It took me ages to find it, but it's a great game and I'm really enjoying it. But the next question I wanted to ask is like, so what made you want to make a puzzle game?
Well, funny enough, originally when I was starting to think of I want to leave AAA games and make my own studio, I was in Supermassive and I was like, you know what? I got this cool RPG idea in my mind that I want to do. I know I can do it, but when I started thinking more and more about it, it's like, yeah, I think I could definitely do it. But obviously, it's going to be like you see a lot of these indie people, they start making these RPGs. And as a solo developer, it will take years. And I was like, okay, maybe I should start small, build up a team, then do it, and then it won't take as long. So I started thinking of small game ideas. I thought of making like an escape room VR game. And then I was like, I'll start off really simple and do like a really simple short escape room. And then we thought, let's do it for mobile. And then actually, when I left Supermassive, I was still on the mind of doing an RPG. I left Supermassive. I moved back to Scotland. We started building up the company. I co-founded the company with my partner, Natasha Singh, and a friend of mine, but we had to drop him as a director because when you open a business bank account, everyone needs to be there at some point, and he's all the way living down south.
Okay.
And it would have been too much hassle for him just to come up just for that. So we dropped him he resigned basically as a director. He's going to come back later on when the company picks up more. So basically, yeah, we spent the first 2 weeks actually designing our RPG game. And then I was like, one day, just like, we should really start small. Otherwise, we're going to be doing this for years.
Yeah, of course.
And obviously, making games is fantastic and I love it. But at the end of the day, it's still a business. And if your business isn't bringing in any income, you're going to have to either stop doing it and find a different job or just leave games altogether. So we thought, let's start off something small. So we thought, we're making an escape room. Originally, as well, the escape room idea what we had was actually going to be, I think, six rooms altogether. And we were like, okay, let's start with 6 rooms. They all had their separate themes and that. But over time, when we started developing, we were like, okay, we'll focus on one room, and then we'll do it as like, once we've done one room, then we'll start working on a second room, and then the next room after that, and then we can release the game and then patch in the other rooms afterwards. Like over time, be like, oh, the next room's coming in a couple of months, and release them every couple of months. But we shortly realized that mobiles have a very limited space on memory, and our game was already like, because we wanted visually the fidelity of it to be really high. So we were like, okay, well, we can't do this with 6 rooms, so we cut down as well. We cut down the rooms because we thought it was taking us ages just to do one room, because I was doing this around my freelance, and then we just decided just in the end just to do one room because just do one room, release it, see how it does, and then if it does well enough, then we'll make another room. If it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't do well enough, then we won't make another room. Because our mindset for our game company is basically we want to every game be something a bit more different
Of course.
and a bit
Nice.
more of a stepping stone to doing something we really want to do in the future, like more bigger projects. So we've kind of released this one. There's people requesting more rooms, but we're kind of thinking of moving away from this, and we've already started on our second IP. So we're
Congratulations.
hoping. Cheers. We've aimed for 18 months, but you know how game development goes. It's probably
Yeah,
going to take longer than that.
but yeah, like you said so many great things there that is super important. It's kind of realizing, right, there's obviously there's a lot to it to making a game. And it's not just about making art, it's not just about the game development side of things. There's being an entrepreneur, there's understanding the marketing aspect, there's team development, there's employment, etc. And scale, understanding scale goes such a long way. And I think the best thing that you said there was, first of all, is like the team size. Like you've got obviously your partner, and there's three of you in the team. And then I also realized you also reached out to artists as well. So it was Charlotte who helped you. Am I correct for the 3D side of things as well?
Yeah, we had for the 3D, my friend Kyle, who resigned as director, but still is a 3D artist.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte McKay, hopefully I'm pronouncing that right. And then Andreas, I can never pronounce his
It's
last
okay.
name.
It's no
Like
pressure.
Stavas or something like that. They helped out. And then I had a close friend that I knew from doing my master's,
Mm-hmm.
Nelson, who basically when I got stuck with the programming, he kind of mentored me in how I could like think about it differently, or like maybe go, oh, you've used the wrong thing here, try this instead. And then we had a guy called Arthur, who's I think he's got his name is Manaberry.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I remember is his name. I don't really remember his full name. I just call him Manaberry.
Perfect.
He did the music for the game, and then for myself, I did some 3D, made the puzzles work, the programming parts of it. I did the lighting, I did the sound design, and then my partner did the actual designing of the puzzles and the room, and she hand painted all the textures as well.
It's crazy because when you're doing your own studio, like you always forget, like you have to kind of be a master of everything when you're kind of starting out. So there's so much to it. Like I could never picture myself like this is nothing against programming, but if I'm learning C sharp or something, it's a whole other world for me. I've never done it properly. I did a wee bit Arte, but that's about it. So it's been about 7 years or whatever it's been since I've ever touched any Python or anything scripting related, etc. But that's always like the interesting thing as well, and it's something you have to realize you have to sign up for. It's that you're going to have to be more involved, and obviously having a deeper knowledge of game design, etc. Was there any particular things that you learned along the way that maybe was completely new to you? Like what was like the main kind of things that maybe came as a surprise to you when starting your own game?
No,
No, right. It was literally just.
really. I guess because I've worked in AAA. I kind of know the insides and outs of how to make a game because I've seen it
Mhm.
firsthand happening in these big studios. So making it was a little bit easier. There was nothing that was surprised me, but you had to be more careful about what you were doing because with mobile, there's way more technical limitations than you would have with obviously a computer. Not surprising. I knew there was some limitations, but there were a lot more that had to be considered. So I was like, oh, okay, I need to kind of really reel this down.
Mhm.
But the game, though, I kind of pushed it, and I didn't really worry too much about how it ran at first. But once we released the game and I started like checking if it was running smoothly, it seemed to be doing all right.
Yeah.
Surprisingly.
I think it works amazing. Like I think it's really good. Obviously, it's like you said, it's lots of trial and error. But when you're saying about the mobile stuff, so what was the main things when you're saying about like obviously you having to condense things down? How low did you have to be? Like how efficient? Like what things did you have to kind of like remove? If you know what I mean?
So I think we could have got away with adding a little bit more because the APK I think has to be like 100 megabytes or something like that, and then you can actually have an extension which is I think an additional 500. But our game doesn't have any normal maps in. When we started early days with just the art, making the art and getting some basic textures in there,
Mm-hmm.
normal maps take up quite a lot of room anyway. So I just thought, you know what, let's just not have any normal maps and just have it as a basic diffuse. And then doing that means relying on how the texture looks a lot more. But I think we did a okay job. My partner painted them really well. So
Like when it comes to the art style, like, I think it's really nice, and that was the thing I was saying to you before we went live. Like it's the completely opposite what I would expect from what I've seen you over the years. Of you know, what I mean, like everything I've always seen is AAA, and I know you said there obviously you've transitioned from doing work in the studios etc. to doing an indie studio, and it's great seeing something completely different. Like, I did not expect it the art style at all. So like, what made you go down that route? I know obviously it's for mobile etc. But did it take a while to kind of find your style for the game?
not really. I kind of just we made some 3D models. My partner did a concept piece, and then one of our 3D artists just made a prop, and we were like, "That's perfect. Let's do the style like that." And then
Yeah,
Tasha painted it, and I just kind of left her to doing it how she wanted to. The only textures I did were pretty much like some scrolls. I did the tiled textures for the actual room itself, so like the floor, the walls, and the ceiling, and the trim texture, and then the vines. And then I kind of just left everything prop painting to her. So, yeah, because a lot of my stuff I kind of tend to go to more realistic, but I find that my work never has been fully realistic. It's in that middle of like realistic and like semi-stylized, and I think it's because I enjoy it more. When you start thinking, "Oh, I need to make a texture look exactly like this concrete," it doesn't feel as creative, in my opinion. People will say differently because everyone has different opinions, but
of course, yeah.
for me, it just wasn't doing it for me. I didn't feel like I was being very creative. I just felt like I was just staring at a brick wall pretty much and having to be like, okay, I need to get this looking exactly like that. There's no, with like stylized, you're left with, okay, so how do I do this? What type of forms do I want? Do I want big, bold forms? Do I want softer forms? How's the texture look? Does it look like what you would see in real life, or is it more painterly? Do I want brush strokes in it? There's just like way more things that go through your mind when you're thinking about all that.
Hmm. Like when it comes to stylize, like I'll admit, I think it's a whole other level when it comes to level of difficulty. I feel that for me, like I struggle like I am the worst in history at making stylized art. Like I've tried it, I've attempted it. Like I have so much respect for people who do. Like lots of friends who are amazing at it, and when I'm doing it, I'm just like, how do you guys make something? I don't know. I think the more simple. I'm pretty sure many people who are listening can agree with this. The more simple something is, it's just 10 times harder because you can get away with so many different things when it comes to realism, but when it comes to stylized, it's a whole other. It's just way more challenging, and it's about being smart with your decisions, etc. And I think that's the really interesting thing as well. What you said there was the fact that obviously you're doing the art as well, but obviously you've got the team who are also making art, making decisions for the game, designing the puzzles, but you're also being more hands-on on the more entrepreneur side of things. So what did it feel like for you to kind of maybe step back a little from making like all the art? Like how did that experience feel like, having to balance between being a business person and also still kind of being involved in the art?
It was interesting because originally I didn't think I was going to do any form of art for the game. I thought I'm going to be, because I've not programmed in for such a long time, that it's going to be mostly spent on trying to figure out how to program everything again, and get better at that. But surprisingly, I managed to do all right with that aspect. And then I was like, I had enough time to get in some 3D modeling because with the other 3D modelers, they've all got full-time jobs or they're in college, so we want to. The idea is not to take up their time. They're donating their time as well. They're not getting paid for it, so I don't want to keep harassing them. So I was like, you know what? I'll spend some time actually getting some 3D modeling done.
Mm-hmm. Like when it comes to obviously decision making, so when you're coming to making a project, you have to be smart. And I think that's another thing that a lot of people tend to do wrong when they're starting things out, is that they bring on too many people, or they try to, I guess, dive into the quality aspect too early. And it's what I was saying earlier. It's a balancing act between both the things and realizing, right, where can I invest my money? Like, money at the end of the day is everything when it comes to starting a company. Yes, you don't technically need money to make the game, but you need money when it comes to obviously branching out and actually obviously paying for people and stuff. And obviously when you're what you were saying there, you had to make the decision of, right, how can I be supportive for the people that you've brought on, because obviously they're donating their time, and it's creating that healthy balance for both sides of things. So when it comes to the game itself, obviously puzzles and stuff. So I know Natasha did lots of the puzzles. What was it like designing like the actual game itself? So actually making the story come together as well. And what was that experience? Was that a difficult one to prototype?
Well, she was actually on a holiday before the virus stuff kicked off.
Mm-hmm.
She was on holiday with her mum while I was actually at home just kind of prototyping. There wasn't really a room being designed yet, and I had prototyped this really basic looking room with like notes on the floor that you could pick up and unlock a box that gives you a key, and then it had like a Minecraft like Nether portal that like appears.
Sweet, yeah.
And then it was shortly when she came back, she started like designing the actual room and story, and then I started working on another room and the story for that one. So it was interesting with doing that and bouncing between things. Like me myself, there's another reason why I kind of turned away from AAA. I love just having creativity of just bouncing around different type of things.
Yeah.
I get too bored if I focus on one thing at once. So the great thing about what I do is that if I get bored of just programming, I can literally spend a day or week just doing some art, and then if I get bored of that, I can move back onto like programming or sound design. And there's quite a few people in indie especially that are like that. Like Lucas Pope is pretty much the exact same. I remember listening to a podcast where he says he gets bored of just doing one thing, and that's one reason why he left Naughty Dog.
Mm-hmm.
Was because he likes to kind of just bounce around and do different type of things. Yeah, I think if you have that kind of mindset, then it's worth trying to do your own games. But obviously, a lot more people just enjoy that one thing.
Yep.
As well.
No, I completely agree. Because I'm the dude. I'd have to say, like, I'm the exact same. And when it comes to my experience, when it comes to just any art in general, like, I understand a lot of people tend to have their own niche, but when you get kind of not forced, but when you have to do the same thing for such a long period of time, it's easy to kind of lose passion and lose that momentum. Mm-hmm. And I guess like that's the great thing about since the last time we talked on the podcast, like everything's completely like switched over for you in terms of you've obviously, like you said, switched from AAA to now doing your own studio, and it's a whole other field to learn. And when it comes to obviously making career choices, yes, obviously you want to make the decision that what's right for you and what makes you most comfortable. So if you do love doing modeling, there's nothing wrong with that. Whatever it is, like stick with that. Like we're not trying to discourage anyone when it comes to a specific field. But the great thing about starting your own company and going down this line is it's like Kyle said, it's like you have to kind of be a jack of all trades. There's lots of different aspects that you have to learn. Was there anything that I guess if you were to like start this again, when it comes to starting your company, is there anything that you would do differently, or is there anything that surprised you that you weren't aware of?
I probably would have cut down with the freelance straight away. I mean, it was good at the start because obviously we needed money coming through, but it took a lot of time away from just doing the game. So I think the game altogether actually only took 6 months,
Really?
7 months to develop. But obviously, because I was doing freelance, we aimed for a whole year. When I stopped doing the freelance, we were actually way ahead of schedule. But we did actually hit our initial release date, which was the 15th of July. We managed to hit it exactly and get everything done on time.
Perfect. So when it comes to doing, so this is going to be the very in-depth area of the podcast. So prepare yourself, folks. There's going to be a lot of back and forth here. So we've talked a lot about the game. We've talked about Kyle's experiences, etc. So when it comes to starting a company, like what is like the basics, like what's the minimum someone needs to kind of get things going?
I would say always start as small as you can. Like if you think of a small idea, make it even smaller.
Okay.
Keep on making it small. Something that you could maybe do in a month or two and then build it, release it, and then expand afterwards, making it longer and longer and longer, the process. Because again, like originally we were going to do 6-7 rooms with this game. But if we did that, we would have still be working on this game, probably not get it all done until like another year or two. So you want to definitely shorten it down because you want to build up an audience. And that's important because obviously making games, yeah, if you do it as a hobby and you release them, perfectly fine. But if you eventually want that to be your career, you need to think of it as a business. You need to think, okay, I need to build up an audience so they get more excited about the next game and then the next game and the next game. Just doing that by making some small games is perfectly fine. Like going back to Lucas Pope, every time he thinks of a game, he thinks of, can I do this in 6 months? And then he makes the game. And then he goes way over 6 months because Papers, Please and Obra Dinn was quite a bigger thing to do. Yeah, it's good to just, like with this game, I could have easily said, actually originally said we can get all 6 rooms done in a year. If we actually did that and was like, yeah, we could do that, it would have taken way longer because when it comes to game dev or sitting down, making an environment or anything creative, and you're like, I can do it in this amount of time, you always add more time to that because realistically, you're probably going to go way over that.
Yeah, like there's always it's crazy. It's like there's so many things to making a company that you have to realize to all the things that we tend to forget. Like you need to have money for food. You need to have, like Kyle was saying, you need to have future planning of like all the possibilities it could be. Like you need extra money for all these different situations. And also like when you're starting a company, there's a lot of things that you have to get grounded first. Like you need to plan your business, you need to register for taxes. Like Kyle said as well, open a business bank account. You have to start going into business accounting, obtain necessary permits, licenses, you name it. Business insurance, another one you have to throw in the table. But there's lots of things that you have to realize and acknowledge early on, like if this is something that you can commit to. And you're not going to be making money like straight away. Like a lot of people are like going, oh, I'm going to make millions, I'm going to make thousands off the bat of my first game. But Kyle, I'm pretty sure you'll agree, it doesn't work like that.
Definitely not. Like we've released our game. Yeah, we have ads coming on that and getting ad revenue, but like what we've made is not even gonna last us half like an hour.
Yeah.
It's very minimal. So we knew we were gonna release this game for free, even if it took ages, because we want to build up our audience. And the next game we will hopefully release it as a proper pay title. And because people have had this free game to play, they kind of might be able to be more like, okay, I know what they can do. I'm more than willing to pay for this. And but obviously that because we're going to be taking like another year or half to it, our business still isn't making any form of money. So you got to really have that backup of money if you're considering making games for a living, especially if you want to make your own, because there's a high chance that you're not going to make money for a good couple of years.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad you said that. By the way, like once again, like this isn't to discourage anyone. It's all about realizing or getting all the questions answered, like figuring things out. Reach out to people who've already started a game. There was this really awesome video. I don't recall the name. He's a very well-known game designer, and I think he has like 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. And he was talking about like all the reasons to go into game design, all the ins and outs, etc., all the things you have to prepare for, and it's a lot to take in. However, it's completely possible, and what Kyle's saying there, like, it's not about obviously making money. You have to enjoy, you have to be passionate, and being passionate is going to be the driving force behind everything. Like, you'll have times, trust me, you'll have many times that you're just like, I don't want to make this anymore, I'm tired, I'm exhausted, what's happening to the world, help me please. Like, I'm pretty sure you've came across many times, Kyle, like, you're just like, it's not working. Maybe it's not planning out the way I want to, but then you get the motivation again from your surrounding team, etc., and you figure it out. It's all about trial and error.
Well, to be honest, with our game, like there was a big time where I was just like, I don't like this game. Like, I'm sick of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. It's probably not going to do well. Like, I just want to go on to another game that's probably going to do that. Hopefully, will do much better. But if you keep thinking like that and you go and move on to the next game, you're never going to release anything.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to kind of have that focus mind and really grit your teeth and just really focus on it. And I'm glad we carried at it, because with the finished product, I'm really happy with how it came out. We had some issues when we did release the game with like ads not actually showing up, but I think I ended up spending, because we wanted to do this thing with our company that when we release a game, take a week or two off. I think in total, I actually only took like 4 or 5 days off, because I spent after release trying to fix all these problems with the game.
Wait, is this in the whole time of you making the game?
Oh, once we released the game, there was a bunch of things that was wrong with it. Like one puzzle, you solve it right, and it's like, wait, this is right. Why is it not working? But you had to actually make the symbols go around like twice. So you get it right the first time. You had to then click it to go back to the right thing again.
Oh, okay.
So I was like, oh, I didn't even knew. Like, I kind of figured when I was playtesting, like, why isn't that working? And then it's like, it does work. And then I never really it never clicked in my mind that there was a problem until I had someone playtesting it and did a speed run and was like, oh, here's a problem with your game. And I was like,
it's finally clicked.
Yeah, he spent time fixing it, but I think all the bugs are pretty much fixed now. There's only one problem, is that when you release a mobile game and you release it to a more wider audience, our game has got some writing in which is purely English, and we've had some pretty decent ratings, but recently we've had a bad rating because someone in Japan couldn't understand the potion puzzle because it's all in English.
Okay.
Which is totally understandable from them giving it the 2 stars. I don't blame them. But if we ever had the money and time, we would have got a proper translated version of all the puzzles. So
no, but like, when you're saying that, but that's a good thing as well, because I think it's all about realizing that when you're starting games out, it's not about necessarily making the most polished piece. Like, I understand we want to make the best game, but you learn as you go along through these experiences. So, like, obviously when you make your second game, you'll learn so much from your experiences from your first game, and like, you're playing the game so much. So when you're doing, it's the same thing when you're making art. Like, every time you make the same piece and you're spending so much time on it, you miss so many small things because you get so sidetracked, because you're not necessarily always giving yourself a break, or you're always you're looking at it all the time, if you know what I mean. So it's not the easiest of things to get everything perfect.
But yeah, as we're saying here, like, if in your mind, especially if you're still young, like, you want to make your own games, and definitely go ahead with it, even if you're old. Just make games. Like, if you want to make it a business, you will find a way. Like, it's all about passion at the end of the day. If you make a game and you're just not feeling it, and you feel like you're not passionate about it, then it's probably worth looking at a different career. Do not go into games, especially thinking, do not go into making games thinking you're going to make millions and millions. It never happens.
Yeah, it's so true.
Even the Flappy Bird guy wasn't making millions. It never happens. So
when it comes to the money aspect, the reason why I like to talk about this is because I think it's super important. Because when it comes to making games, the money, when it does come to like the smaller indie studios, etc., it comes from the driving force behind marketing and your ability to develop a fan base. The great thing about yourself, Kyle, is that obviously you've got your fan base in terms of you've got your following already grown as well, which really helps any studio get their name out there. This is why I like to bring this topic so many times on the podcast. Like, I like to highlight the importance of social media and creating yourself a following, because you never know which direction you might go down. It could help you in so many ways. So when it comes to obviously starting out a game, get your game out there. Get people playing it. Get people's thoughts on it, and create a brand around it. Get some excitement going. Get some hype. When it comes to making a company, you've got to invest time into marketing, reach out to people, and figure out what works. But one thing I will say, when it does come to feedback, it'd be great to hear your opinion on this, Kyle. How should people get feedback? Like, what's your approach on that side of things?
Yeah, like definitely, like if there's people you look up to and inspire to, I sit and you really want to talk to them about, say that you're maybe making a game, or maybe like at the start when I was making textures, I reached out to a few people I knew that were really popular in the texture art game, and I just messaged them, said that can I get some feedback on this, maybe over time, like just talk with them, and you make friends that way as well. Yeah, I wouldn't be where I was if it wasn't for those guys. Like Josh Lynch I used to, lucky enough, I got mentored by him before was doing all this mentoring stuff, and then that's kind of what drove him, I think, to do full-time mentoring. And it's always cool seeing what all his students are doing, and you just grow quicker if you're getting feedback from these people. And like myself, I'm trying to now on my YouTube and Twitch, trying to get more into streaming and making videos about game development, because I really, hopefully, one day will maybe make some other friends that are making their indie games and like maybe chat to them about what they're doing and stuff like that. Because most of the people I talk to are just focused on art, so which is perfectly great, but I think that there's actually been 2 environments recently that I've tried to start doing. Like, I thought, oh, I'll make some environments just to keep myself ahead of the game and the art. But I just get bored of it too quickly because it's just one thing constantly. I love making like games. Like right now, I'm making just a small little game. I'm using the theme from GMTK's like game jam that happened recently, like called Out of Control. So I was like, well, instead of trying to fill it within like 24 hours, I didn't actually come up with the game idea until literally the game jam finished as well. So I was like, oh, sorry, I'll still do it, but just take my time with it. Yeah, but I'm just enjoying that stuff like crazy. It's super fun. It helps me get up in the mornings as well.
There's no better feeling, man. Like, I'm happy for you, dude. Like, it's all about obviously finding your passion and stuff. And there's lots of things. Like, we can talk about personal art and personal things all the time, but I've talked about it so many times on the podcast. It's just all about choosing the right path for you, trial and error, figure things out, etc. And like we said today, it's all about experimenting and seeing what happens. And one of the next kind of things I also wanted to say there, since we were talking about the marketing aspect, is don't be so kind of how can I say it, so precious. I think a lot of people like to control, like say they have an idea, like they have, oh, I've got the greatest idea in history, I don't want to tell anyone, but then you're not going to know the mistakes, etc. So when it comes to your prototypes, I guess kind of like, what did you learn through that experience? So when it comes to making the game and stuff, did you learn anything from the people that you're getting feedback, etc.? Because I know you reached out to lots of different people. And like, what was that experience like?
With our game, we actually were very hush-hush about it until pretty much 2 weeks before we were going to release it. But I did have a few friends where I would like maybe show a screenshot of the room, and get their opinion on what it looks like visually. But as for gameplay, we just focused on whoever was helping working on the game got to play it earlier, and make sure that they could actually solve it. But yeah, I think it's definitely worth like never being too precious. Stop worrying that everyone's going to steal your ideas, because everyone's ideas are. There are so many ideas out there that they probably won't even care. I think especially in university as well, share with your peers and like your friends, because I know a few people when I was in university. I've heard stories of like programmers being super secretive about their code and artists not showing wanting to show workflows and stuff like that. And it's like your workflow probably isn't anything special. There's probably people that have done stuff like that already. And just doing that, say your friend gets a job and you're the person holding back with the code or the workflow, and then you go, I want to work where you're working too. Can you like get me a job? That person will probably less likely recommend you because you were holding out information. It's like, well, you're not a team member. You're more focused on yourself.
Yeah.
So making games is definitely a team effort. So never like try and keep everything to yourself. It's about working together, and even in AAA, like you have some people that will just work and be like, maybe make a piece of art and go, okay, but how do I make this look good for my portfolio? They don't think about the game; they think about their portfolio pieces, and that's not how it works. It's basically about the game and the player experience. You need to always think about the people who are playing, and never like. I think I was going to say this on the last question, but never as well when you're looking at artists or developers and you're seeing the path they've taken, never ever try and follow the path that they've done. Everyone has their own separate path of how they get into things. I did the exact same thing when I was younger. In college, I always saw some artists that went from the same college as me straight after they went to these companies, and I was like, I'm going to do the exact same thing they've done so I can get the same thing, do the same thing. And it never happened. Never happened the way you want. And even my journey has been completely different to most of the people I know. It's like everyone will have their own way the journey unfolds. And that's what makes you interesting later on, because when people talk to you, you'd be like, oh yeah, I did it this way. And it's like, oh, sweet.
Yeah. Because that's always the thing. Because like everyone always asks, whenever we talk to family and stuff, like, so what have you been up to? And the one thing that always surprises me is like, where have you been? Like, so I've moved 14 times now, and just to find the thing that I wanted to do, like it took 14 moves to finally figure out, right, this is what I want to do as a career. And I was like, a lot of people tend to maybe move once, maybe a few times, and that definitely maybe not 14, but it's I completely agree. Like everyone has a different take on things. But once again, folks, everyone, make sure to check out this game. It's an amazing game. As always, the links will be in the description below. So now what we'll do, we're going to be going straight into question time, the most random section on the podcast. So first things first, Kyle, thank you so much for everything that you said. It's been a pleasure having you on. So the first question is, this is always the random section, is if you could put yourself into any video game, what would you choose and why?
Oh, jeez.
I know it. I was telling you at the start, man, prepare yourself for this, because you never got to do this in the last podcast.
I don't know. That's a tough one. I remember when I was in university loving to be like in The Last of Us, just because apart from those horrible zombies, the world was completely like empty. You barely ever saw people, and it's like, man, that's amazing. I'm the same as well when I'm playing stuff like Kingdom Come Deliverance, and you're just walking these lands, and there's like ages when you don't run into someone. It's like, man, that must have been peaceful. But obviously
chilling.
it wasn't, because there was the plague, there was fucking bandits and stuff. You're still gonna get killed.
Oh, just ignore that. We'll just enjoy the views.
But I don't know, maybe let's do Yakuza. That way I can stay in keeping fit by beating people up and drinking Japanese.
You're sorted. Awesome choice. Right, okay, this is one I've only asked
Animal
once.
Crossing. Animal Crossing.
I was waiting for you to say that. I know you're a massive fan of that. I was waiting for you to say that.
I'll be best friends with Tom Nook.
You'll be sorted for life. Perfect. You just go fishing and everything.
Yeah.
So this is a question I've always loved asking. I've only asked it a few times. Who's your favorite villain in a video game?
The player.
The player? Wait, what do you mean?
The people who play the games are the real villains.
Really? Right, okay. That's interesting.
Okay.
Wait, I'm confused.
That'd be a really good concept for a game, though.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
I don't know. I really liked Voss in Far Cry 3, back in the days. Like, he was just amazing. And like when you get to the second half of the game when he's not there anymore, I really didn't enjoy the game anymore. He really sold it for me.
Yeah,
But
it's
it's
a
not
tough one.
really,
It's not an easy question, is it?
yeah, there's not really any that really have stood out apart from Voss back in the days. Trying to
Perfect.
think of all the games that I've played recently, but
Nothing's coming. That's all right.
it's the only
Right.
one that really sticks out to me.
We'll go with that. Perfect. Right. This one's a tough one. So I was struggling for this. So would you rather unlimited international travel and like first class tickets, or never have to pay for food at a restaurant?
Definitely travel.
Travel. Dude, I'm a massive food person. I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I could not decide. I was like, oh, but then again, you can travel anywhere. There's so much experiences you can go then.
I mean, that's one reason why me and my partner made making indie games, because we watched a couple that basically they don't even have a home. They just stay with their parents, and then I forget who they were. It's something like they stay with their parents or they rent a place, and
Hmm.
then when they're making a game, they just like get their laptops, get some bags, and explore the world while making games.
Yeah.
And it's like that would be amazing. I'd love, like, we keep on joking about the idea about spending like a year or two in Japan and just making one of our games and then coming back afterwards or something.
That'd be incredible, dude. That'd be insane. One of my friends, Alex, he's been on the podcast many times. He's currently traveling around with his wife, going from like country to country, and he's in Japan. Literally at the moment, he's been in Japan for 3 months now. And you just see all. He also does YouTube, so he's like documenting his journey, and you're just like, wow. You just see all the different cultures, all the different food. Like that's the one thing I crave all the time. Like anytime I see, like I'm like one show I couldn't stand as a kid was watching MasterChef, because you just see all the people eating the food. I'm like, no, this is torture. I want the food. Give me the food. But no, that's a good choice. Right. This one was inspired by His Dark Materials. Have you ever seen the show His Dark Materials? Or
I haven't, no.
oh,
I've
dude.
not even read the books.
Ah, come on. Where have you been? Where have you been? But then again, it might not be for you. But so there's this really cool thing called a demon, right? So
This is
basically,
the familiar that's attached to you, right?
yeah, it's so cool. Like it's the whole concept behind it. Like I'm obsessed with it. I can't wait for season 2. It's coming out soon. But if you had to choose like
A
your
raccoon.
demon, a raccoon. Okay, why a raccoon? Why are we going down the raccoon route?
Don't know. They're
Just
funny.
just as
Funny. They can be cute, but
but
they can also
deadly.
be like, yeah, like really vicious if they want to be.
Yeah, so you got your backup just in case you ever get into a bad situation.
Yes.
Oh man, it's like I was like trying to think of this for ages. Like I was like, you know what? I think I'm gonna choose a wolf. Like I thought a wolf would be really cool. I'm obsessed with like the pack animals and stuff, but having like my own wolf, I think that'd be badass. It'd be so cool. Right. The next ones we got five more questions, and then we'll take it from there. So right, this one I was struggling, but then I finally made a choice. So would you rather be stuck on a broken ski lift or stuck in a broken elevator?
Maybe an elevator because I'm terrified of heights. So
Right.
being in
Okay.
an elevator, I won't be able to see
Mhm.
the height around me. And of in my mind, I could be on the top floor, the bottom floor. Like
Yeah.
it doesn't matter as long as I got a ball to play with. I'm fine.
You're right. Dude, I don't know if I could survive it being in an elevator, man. Like I'm just gonna go with the risk with the ski lift. Like the higher up, I'm not the best with heights. Well, it depends. Like when I'm doing like climbing and stuff, so I love climbing. It's weird, right? So I love climbing, but I'm not the best with heights. But I never look down, dude. I'm just like, right, where's the rock? Go, 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 go. I just keep on going. Right, the next one is probably one of the hardest ones. I'm choosing a lot of questions for me. I feel is really just difficult, but it might be easier for you. Would you rather go without TV for the rest of your life or go without junk food?
That is a tough one.
Dude, I need my food. I've been talking a lot about food
Yeah, I'd
today.
probably just say the TV because like I don't really watch much at all. Me and my
Hmm.
partner will watch like one thing when we're eating our dinner, and then we
Yeah,
have one movie night a week. Because I still love watching my movies occasionally. Because eventually I do want to still go back into maybe because eventually with my company when we start hiring more people, I want to move on to the actual like cinematic aspect of
Oh, that'd be
games.
cool. Yep. Okay.
So I've been looking at a lot of like using VR kits as tracking devices and using the iPad for like tracking your face and stuff like that. And um, I've got my iPad set up as a camera, a virtual camera, so I can walk around my room and basically use that as like I'm filming something in the game.
Nice.
That stuff like really excites me, and it's like I really want to do more cinematic stuff. That's really what we want to do with our game is make cinematic experiences. But at the moment, we need to start off small. So
Yeah. No, but you got to have the drive. You got to have the drive. We've been talking about that through the podcast. But since you actually said that's actually made an interesting question. So when it comes to AR and VR and stuff, like how far do you think we're behind to actually making it almost become like it's similar to like a reality, like Ready Player One? Like, do you think we're miles behind,
uh,
or do you think we're
probably,
closing down?
I think we're still quite a distance away.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. It's no longer a fad like how it was back in the 80s, 90s, right? Like you didn't buy these big chunky blocks that you put on your head, and those big chunky gloves, and everyone's like, "Ah, it's just a fad, like 3D." You wear those cyan and red like glasses.
Yes.
It's like
No.
it's definitely improved way like a lot, but there's still room for tons of improvement. Like, I mean, there's one VR game that I play which is called Orbis VR, which is like an
Ooh,
MMO.
interesting. Right. I've
Um,
never heard of this. Right. Okay. Tell me about it.
it's just like it's basically like an MMO. You go around fighting and stuff like that, and you can see the other players who are playing as well. But it still has a long way to go to be in like saying World of Warcraft style. Like that would be flipping amazing.
Yeah, that'd be
Uh,
insane.
there's still like loads of technical limitations. So once the technical aspect of it's being gets sorted and computers can handle more, I think definitely.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't. We're still miles away where we could maybe put on a headset and literally feel like we're in the world. It's always going to have that disconnect for ages because there's only so much walking space you can do in your room, or the only way you could really feel like you're in the game is if like lasers were being shot in your eye and like
Yeah.
your neuron system is basically thinks you're in the game as well.
Yeah, like, I have no idea how they can make it possible. You see all these people like connecting up things like related to like nerves and stuff, or like you have them on like a treadmill or like any of this kind of like moving platform. You're just wondering like how they're going to actually make it become a reality, so like it feels like it's actually like you're not like I don't know. It just makes it feel real. Like I have no idea where the future's going to be coming when it comes to VR because I've actually got a guest coming on the podcast who designs robotics, and
Okay.
it's going to be really interesting because he dives into that kind of VR stuff as well. So like I always like doing this kind of would you rather section because you get the most random conversations and you never know what can come from it.
I'll say with the VR as well, like AR, we're still definitely a long way, especially as a species, because I mean, you get people who are too afraid of wearing masks or scared of 5G because it's mind control devices. Imagine telling them they need to have a laser or something shot in their face with VR. They'd be
That'd be
terrified.
terrified. Yeah, they'd be panicking non-stop.
We're like, you're not taking my mind.
That'd be insane. Oh, like, dude, I would love Red. Oh, I've said it a few times in the podcast, but Ready Player One in reality, oh, it'd be so good. I would love it. I have no idea if I could choose a card. I have no idea who I'd be. That's why I asked you the question at the start. I was like, I don't have a clue who I would choose. Right, I've got two more questions, Kyle. Would you rather bad internet signal or a bad computer or bad computer specs? This has got to be like the worst one of all.
Already got bad internet, so
You're already
the
used
UK
to
is way behind most other countries.
it.
It's like I had a problem when I was streaming recently where my computer would just clunk out even just after like a minute of streaming. I've kind of fixed it now, but
Mhm.
it's still so crap. So I'm used to having a decent spec computer but terrible internet.
Yeah. Oh,
That's
like
the choice I would go for. Terrible. I don't really care about the internet as much anymore because
really? Wow. Right. Okay. Interesting.
I've actually been trying my best to stay away from social media as much as possible because for me mentally it's just too taxing and
Yeah.
I'm not that interested in it anymore. Like just want to focus on what I'm trying to achieve. Obviously, you need social media anyway, especially if you're making a game. But I don't go on it anymore out of enjoyment.
Yeah, no,
I need to post something.
It's a smart decision you're making, man. You're keeping a safe distance. You've got to. You can't be too addicted. We've all fallen in that trap of being on social media far too long. Right, so this is the question I ask every single guest. I'm changing it up a wee bit, but this one is one I've been asking every guest. I had so many fun answers with this one. What was your favourite cartoon as a kid? Was there the show that was just like your whole childhood?
Probably Winnie the Pooh.
We've not had that on the podcast, right? Okay, why were you a fan of Winnie the Pooh? Tell me, who was your favourite character? Let's hear it. I'm wanting the ins and outs of Winnie the Pooh.
I really enjoyed it, like as a kid.
Yeah, that's very true.
I wouldn't say my teenager days I was watching it, but I definitely remember a lot. I definitely remember a lot from when I was a kid, like getting up early, watching it before school. I had loads of Winnie the Pooh books. One of the last book in the series as well was Winnie the Pooh poems. Okay. And there's one I still remember from today, which is "Isn't it funny how bears like honey? Buzz, buzz, buzz. I wonder why he does."
Hey!
Always stuck with me.
There we go.
Always stuck with me.
That's going to be the new intro to the podcast. That'd be great. Just have a new single or jingle.
Yeah, sounds good.
Amazing answer, amazing. Kyle, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the podcast. Thanks for answering all the silly questions and all the great questions throughout the main part of the podcast. As always, folks, make sure to check out this game. All links are in the description below. You can follow them on their Twitter page. They also got a Facebook page and their YouTube channel. You can see the release trailer and everything to come in the future from Cloud Colony themselves. So if you guys are new to the podcast, as always, don't forget to smash the like button if you enjoyed today's episode. Subscribe as always. It really helps the channel grow. We're almost at 3,000 subscribers here on the podcast, so I appreciate everyone who's been tuning in. And as always, the art share. As always, if you guys want to see your artwork showcase on the podcast, make sure to share your portfolio links on the comments on YouTube. So if you guys are listening on Spotify and Anchor, etc., make sure to post your portfolios on the YouTube link. You'll be able to see it, as always, in the description.
Any questions directed to me on the video commented, I'll do my best to reply. So I will be in the comments checking the comments for a while just to make sure if anyone's got any questions, I'll reply to them.
Perfect. So, like you said there, make sure to get those questions rolling. Whether it's about Cloud Colony, maybe it's just about business aspects as well. And we'll make sure to get them answered for you. So thanks once again, Kyle. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we'll see you guys in the next episode. Bye for now.